morning, race fans. It is July 21st, 2023, and we're here for FP1 for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hey, everyone. This is Grash. Want to thank all of you to your kind words to me over the past few weeks. Been really, really sick. Was literally in the hospital for the last two races. Got out basically the Saturday before Silverstone. And watched it at home. By that time, all the practice and Ryan was doing work, so it was already late for me to jump on the channel. So, but yeah, no, I am recovering. It's basically it's a scenario where it's going to take time for me to recover from what happened. And I'm just getting, like, every day, I'm getting a little more stronger, feeling better. And obviously, if I wasn't feeling up to be doing commentary, I wouldn't be here right now. I'm being backed up by Biggles. Thank you, my friend, for joining me for this free practice, my friend.
Oh, more than anything, my friend, I'm glad that you're back, and I'm glad everybody's. We did miss you. We absolutely missed you. Of course, you're a massive part here of the race statistics community, and well, more than anything, your knowledge, I miss it. Just your love and your passion of F1. So I'll tell you what, anything to lift you up, isn't it? And more importantly, you're out and you're back at it. Not 100% just yet, as you've spoken, but I'll tell you what, maybe to get a little bit more of that energy recovery system back in to the Grash commentary booth, well, the support here of the racing statistics community can do that for you, mate, hopefully. And a bit of F1, right?
Yeah, the fact that I can sit for over an hour is what the reason why I was able to be back here today, right now. We're about 10 minutes before beginning of first practice. Looking over at the F1 feed right now, this basically looks light clouds over the track at this point. Nothing in terms of rain. So we're looking at a nice, clean, dry track for this practice.
And on top of that, now, Grash, you're well aware, and I'm sure everybody here in the Race Statistics channel is well aware, and thumbs up everybody, of course, and your fantastic support. And once again, just give us more thumbs up there because Grash is back. That's the key thing, isn't it? But what's also very important, isn't it, this weekend, the new changes to the qualifying format. Now, obviously, we're only free practice, but you want to elaborate to everybody what the F1 Media Liberty Group are now presenting for the qualifying setup, if it's a dry setup, of course, to qualifying this weekend.
Wait. You mean we're not talking about Danny Rick being back? Yeah, no, that's the other. Yeah. That's the other. Hey, it's not wrong to say
Danny Rick, mate, but come on, look at the car he's going to be in. But anyway,
yeah, it's not wrong to say that, but it's not what you're trying to get me to talk about. Yeah, no. Joking aside, no. What's going on is that I forget the exact name that they're calling this format style, but basically, essentially, in Q1, every driver is using a hard compound that's been assigned for that session. There is a medium compound that is assigned for the Q2 session, and then a soft tire that is assigned just for the Q3 session. What they're doing is that normally teams have, like, I believe, like 13 sets of tires. They're going to reduce the number of tires to 11 because they've got these devoted specific tires for each of the qualifying sessions, and that's the change. I'm trying to remember if they tried this earlier. I know it was supposed to be, they were going to try it at Imola, but that didn't happen due to massive amount of rain on track in the area. So this might be the first time that they're doing this particular qualify. Again, it may have happened one of the two races before. I just don't remember at the moment. But that's what's going on with that qualifying. What's going on with qualifying this weekend, and that's I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's going to be. We'll see what the track action looks like to get a better feel if this is a good change, bad change. It's not a. I don't think it would be a bad change. I don't think it's a detrimental change. It's just different, and I think that's the thing I want to get across.
Yeah, they're changing. I like every once in a while giving it a bit of a switcheroo. Also, there's another award, of course, that they're going to look at doing there for the sprint race weekends. It's another topic we can touch on. Good thing about the free practice sessions that we get to touch on all these new changes in the off weeks of the Formula One. Of course, the Daniel Ricciardo subject that we've got to be talking about. There are plenty of things to chat about. Thank you very much for all that love and support out there in the chat. Yes, I'm back for this qualifying session. Only because I wanted to help out Mr. Grash, Mr. Walking Wikipedia himself, who's obviously recovering, and we're glad to have him back as well. So I don't want to leave you alone in the booth, my friend, for the first qualifying session that practice session, of course, that we're having, and seeing Daniel Ricciardo in white overalls as well too for the Alpha livery is something strange. We've seen that man obviously in the Red Bull. We saw him before in the AlphaTauri, car. Obviously, sorry, Alpha. Well. Yeah, it is AlphaTauri, isn't it? Because in the first car he drove when he entered, when he went to the junior, he's actually back. Sorry, it was Toro Rosso. That's it. I'll get it right at 1.10. He started in Toro Rosso. You got to remember that.
Yeah, he did start there.
And then went to the and then Mark Webber retired, and they're like, well, swatch an Aussie with an Aussie, right? Bang. And then it raced alongside Sebastian Vettel and stuff like that. Anyway, don't quote me on that. I'm really mismatched. But anyway, we're getting to that one. Changed his overalls. Now he's back in white. Although it wasn't white at the time.
Yeah.
Now I'm battling.
So what's interesting is that this, there's part of the story here about people are talking about how this is putting pressure on Checo. There's a part of that story that's true. One thing I want to stress is that Checo is good going into next year. He's got full support of the Red Bull team. Horner said, "I want to put our arm around him and make sure he gets." So Checo's the guy, and he's going to be the guy through the end of this year, unless something outrageously disastrous happens with Checo. I don't see him being any moves with in that regards going into even to the next year. They're talking more about the 2025 seat is where things get interesting, because that's when Checo's contract is up with Red Bull.
Oh, can I cut in the debate that one?
What about,
because Marko is a man that can make one phone call and make any driver go away anytime. So up, progress, up, down, move. We've seen Red Bull is one of those teams that are notorious to switch drivers mid-season anytime.
And
really,
but
that's sort of. I'm just saying, I don't think anybody in Red Bull at any point is really safe unless you're actually winning championships. Obviously, like Sebastian Vettel, and obviously like Max Verstappen at this point.
And that is true. It's hard to argue against Checo because he's basically second in the drivers championship. It's hard to argue against Checo at this. Has he had a bad form, particularly with qualification? Yes. But he's been able to get
I'm not arguing with it. I mean, I'm not arguing with Checo. Yeah. I think Checo's fine. That's one for the debate as well for everybody. I'm just saying that helmet, Marko, is not a man that sits around and debates. He makes a mind up and that's it. And whether he disagrees with Checo's performance or not is the key. Whether we agree or not is irrelevant. It's just that he just can make a call and make a decision. That's the only thing I'm a little bit worried about with Red Bull. But as for Checo, I think Checo's doing the best job he can possibly do it right now, and with little mistakes, but still.
And the big piece here is that Horner came out in support of Checo, and that's the big piece of the puzzle here. Why Checo is in a safe spot, basically, because Horner's backing him and is publicly backing him.
Did you know, but you're talking about that subject. Horner is still peeved about Daniel Ricciardo leaving. Massively upset about that. You read those statements that he had when Daniel Ricciardo left. He was livid. And I was super surprised when Daniel Ricciardo was going to rejoin in the Red Bull, because Christian Horner is still not a happy camper about that. So there is a lot of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Absolutely, for sure. And that's what I mean. Helmut Marko is going to make those decisions anyway, but I'm not I'm guaranteed that
he's not the only one making
sitting his hand up saying, I want Daniel Ricciardo back. He's probably like, I want anybody but Daniel Ricciardo. Not for his driving, just because of the way he left the team unannounced and unsurprised, and not even just phoned up Christian and say, hey buddy, sorry, I'm leaving, I'm going here. It was Christian Horner was practically one of the last persons to know about that, and he's still very, very upset about it, I'm sure. If you pulled Christian Horner aside and asked him that, he's probably got a few words that you can't release on television.
But ultimately, Horner was right about Ricciardo leaving Red Bull, so there is, he can take that satisfaction of he would, but he did bring him back as his third driver, and that's how he is now over in AlphaTauri right now. So
we've got more to that one, but there's a lot of debates. Yeah. I think it's more marketing than anything. Daniel Ricciardo is one of the most popular.
Daniel Ricciardo has pulled out of the garage. Everyone.
Oh, there we go. All right, excellent. We should actually get focusing on that. We are starting, aren't we?
Yeah. My stream is. I'm gonna just check.
It's starting in a bit. It's going to give or take, guys. Everybody remember that we're all around the world. We're different locations.
So my stream. I've got a minute 25 to go before green light starts. So I'm about 15
so perhaps
seconds.
Let's get a poll up in the chat as well too about the one key subject. Obviously, was how about this one? Do you agree with the firing, right, of Nyck? Does anybody agree with the firing of Nyck? That should be a yes or no. Simple as that. Regardless of Daniel Ricciardo, let's go back over to should Red Bull of AlphaTauri have fired him so soon in the season? That's been the big topic of debate, and that one for the poll. You put your votes out there. Obviously, we know what happened, but I would like people's opinions out there if that should have happened or should not have happened, regardless of who got the drive. At this point, just at this point in the voting, just vote not knowing who's going to be the driver that will be replacing, because we know Daniel Ricciardo is pretty much a favorite of a lot of people. But there it is. Should he have been fired in the first place? That would be the big question. And we're all welcome to talk about it. Everybody has freedom.
And we now actually have a poll right now. So you guys don't have to drop your answers in chat.
Yeah, there you go. Click on the votes on that one. I'm just curious because a lot of people that I've been hearing, hasn't it, mate, have been on and off. Like a lot of people say yes, a lot of people say no. I just want the racing statistics people, of course.
And we have a green light. We have a green light now for FP1.
I want to go down there for a second, have a quick chat to Daniel as he gets out of the car. So I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It is brutal what happened to Nyck de Vries. They basically, he managed to find whatever he needed to out of that Williams last year, and he came to AlphaTauri, which is one of the worst cars on the grid, if not the worst car on the grid. There are days where Haas is like saying "Hold my beer" to AlphaTauri. So, it looks like people are going straight out, and then looks like I'm not sure which. I don't know which McLaren just did a pit lane at start. I think that Hamlin's going to do a pit lane start as well. Trying to think. Yeah, the problem with de Vries is that he's not someone who came in through their system, and so ultimately there's an issue. That's one of the issues of why Red Bull didn't give him much of a lifeline to throw him out. Yeah, there's like, did he perform? No. Yeah, it was one of those. It's really weird. Marvin says, Yeah, and he was hired in such a rush that Horner was even questioned the Helmut decision. So Helmut's got a little bit of egg on his face. Gabriel Features says he's a Formula E champion, and just trying to think. If I'm quiet, just tell me in chat. But basically, he had gone through at the F2 program, was an F2 champion as well. So. People think he might go back to Formula E with Andretti. That's a possibility. There is WEC, the endurance stuff, or IMSA. He could end up over here in the United States in IndyCar is a possibility. Yeah, it's people know that he's got talent. And we got yellow flag already. And that's in Sector 2. We'll see what's going on. Oh, wait, that's Checo. Checo's in the wall. Oh, that's bad. So we have a red flag, everyone. Oh boy, yeah, Checo just pinned himself into the tire wall. We were just talking about Checo. So, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. We were just talking about Checo and having support, and he just binned in the wall. Checo says he cannot believe this. No shit, man. Wow. So here we are, 5 minutes into the session. We're following along. What happened with Checo? Comes around and he just loses it. And that took out the front suspension on the left side. Oh, he hit the curb. Literally, you can see him hit the curb. Went off just a little bit. The left rear tire went off the track onto the grass. Went over the curbs. And he basically says he think he hit the grass, went over the curb, and just lost it at the breaking point. And there we go. He's in the wall. Why would you do this, Checo? Liam asks. This is about being an amateur. Better that he does this now in FP1 than say like tomorrow in qualification. So.
Wow, back and red flag. What if I
red
missed
flag
there? I was jumping down there trying to chat to some of the crew about Daniel Ricciardo, but well,
so
a Red Bull driver.
Yeah, we were just talking about Checo too, of all people. So basically, what happened is Checo went slightly. His rear left tire, went off the track onto the grass at the apex of the braking point. It looks like he may have hit also the curbing as well, but he was basically hit that point, braked, and lost the back end of the car, and then basically spun around, went into the wall. Yeah, the front left suspension collapsed as it's supposed to. So
I think they're gonna. I don't think that. Well, it's an hour session. Christian Horner, the faces on Christian Horner says it all at the moment as he puts his head in his face palming himself, going, well, we don't know what he's saying, but if pitchers can show the emotions right now, of course, Red Bull.
This does not help Checo in any shape or form.
No, it does. Do they have bad luck? And they do. In the chat, a lot of people were talking about Checo, some of you watched and stuff like that. There's pros and cons to that. You got to remember too, Checo was a man that came practically from last place to win a race in the past, and people forget that was only a few years ago too. And
so in chat, They were
Nico
asking.
Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton as well too. At some point when they were battling, a few years earlier, some people saying Nico Rosberg's done, he's washed up, and comes back and wins the championship next year. So you got to always remember history of things that happen. Some drivers have an off season, doesn't do too well or not.
In chat, someone asked about if the car's on the crane, and it is, and they're moving the car via the crane. So they didn't bring out a lorry or a truck to put it onto. So, yeah, everyone's back into the garage except for obviously Checo.
Ted might have stepped away for two seconds and then almost on an outlap. Checo's.
So
was there an issue at all? Or was it a driver error? That's going to be a big question.
It was driver error. Okay. Checo went off the track. His tire went off the track. No, it was a flying lap. It was like 5 minutes in. Basically, his tire went onto the grass. And it was just enough to just lose it at the break. He was on the grass over the curb, and yep, he just lost control of the car. And that's
Monaco about the barriers here at Hungary. Well, oh yeah, I'm watching the replay right now. That's definitely a big snap. Not much of a snap, but at a high-speed corner like that, that's all it takes at this level of performance in Formula One, and probably just cold tires. He was on the mediums as well, too, I believe, when that occurred.
Moose asking, are they using crane? If they really won't be happy with them. They are using crane, but they are not doing the acrobatics that happened in Monaco. He is about maybe a few feet off the ground, and they're moving the car via the crane, as opposed to putting it onto a truck. Again, we have a red flag because Checo went off on one of the curbs into a tire barrier, and
now, they're talking. Just to let you know, some of the pictures, as some of those reporters and stuff like that are talking about some new upgrades or changes to his car.
Correct.
So do you think that
I know it may have? It could be. I know that they changed the side pods. There's a new side pod on the car that's supposed to make the car faster. And I don't know all the details tech wise on what I know that the side pods was the big. Okay, I've got the onboard from Sergio's car being moved around by a crane, which is crazy to see. But yeah, no, the side pods changed, and a couple other things changed in the car to make it faster. So Race Control says that session will resume in about a minute.
Great for the other opposition teams at the moment to get snapshot pictures underneath the car, of course, so they're revealing all those.
Oh no,
like they love that stuff, don't they?
Yeah, but I don't think the car's not. I don't think it's high enough to get those type of pictures.
You'd be surprised if a photographer will get the nozzle of their lens in there. It's happened before. How do you think they found about the F duct and stuff like that back in the day, of course, or even the extra brake system that one of the teams had? It was one photographer one time that happened to sneak a camera, I think in Parc Fermé or whatever, some during the celebrations, and snapped and caught the extra brake pedal that one of the teams were using before it was found and outlawed. So you'll be surprised sometimes with some of the things that are exposed in this high level of competition in Formula One, where every little detail, of course, is going to gain you a tenth or 0.2 of a second. Especially a lot of people will be looking at McLaren, won't they, after their performance at Silverstone?
Someone just posted a message into chat. Just want to give you guys a heads up. If you don't put a space after a period, Streamlabs thinks you're posting a link and will then time you out because of that. And that's just how it is programmed. And I just want to give people a heads up so they don't get in trouble with the particular pieces of the bot. back on track. We've got Magnussen, Sargent, Albon, Ricciardo, Piastri, Hamilton, Alonso, Verstappen, Tsunoda, Norris,
Half the field,
Ocon,
isn't it?
and
I don't know that.
Sainz.
And real quick, that's another one. People were talking about, has rain arrived? Rain. I was actually instantly, I thought, Rain is a fantastic commentator, of course, that does all the casting generally for the qualifying and the races. I was thinking, Rain's not here, but then they're talking about rain on track. So yes, some of the umbrellas and the ponchos are coming out. So yes, is that going to be something of debate here? Because remember, this is a notorious track for weather. If you have seen those races in the past, you remember those mudslides that people were sliding down the hill in the past? This is the track that they did it.
Oh boy. Track does not look wet. Oh no, they're saying rain on track.
It's spots.
But they're not saying, not saying how hard. There's definitely water in the air. So again, those Perez did crash earlier. His car is not destroyed. Oh yeah, there's a patch of.
I've seen whether I tell you what right now, if you guys out there, you obviously have the flexibility. If you've got your Google the rain forecast, the Doppler radar conditions at this track. Of course, just type that in, Hungaroring. Type that in. You get yourself your own weather radar forecast, and you can look at the loop and have an idea in yourselves what you think is going to happen live right now. You can do it.
They just showed
those images, but you can Google them.
They just showed a picture of the local radar, and there's a small patch just south of the track, going basically at the southern end of the track, I would say.
Yeah, you got to look at the looping Doppler radar, right, to see kind of the angle and where it's going to be. Kind of predict that. That's just a well.
And then there's another patch to the east of the track. And who's off the track?
Has had a spin. See. They're so
one of the
sharp in this one, my friend. Thank you very much, everybody out there, for reporting on everything that's going on. By the way, we always do this here at Racing Statistics. I want to see a shout out. It's getting heavy. It's definitely getting heavy. Cars are spinning tooth and nail. So I think most of these drivers are going to go back into pit road right now and not risk it. The track is green. However, they're all on slicks mainly. So I think at this point, you can't really do too much, mate. You don't want to have a car into the fence right now when you need practice time for your first practice session of the weekend. So yeah, everybody's going to peel into pit road. I'd say that's bad to leave somebody out right now, wouldn't it?
And that's the same. I think that's the same corner that Checo spun at.
It's too wet and cold tires coming straight out of pit road. Remember,
that's the same.
We've heard before in the previous races how long these medium hard tires take to get up into temperature. Most drivers are on the mediums or the hards, and you're just going to see spin alatas happening pretty much everywhere. And I'd say not a major fault to a lot of drivers, just heavy braking zones, a little bit of water on the track, and boom, you're going around.
So Bottas just spun and said that it's not drivable at the moment. So
not on dries, that's for sure. They're all on the pit road, apart from a couple of drivers. So just
he just spun in the same spot that Checo did.
I think anybody can spin at that point. If you're approaching that corner, the best of the best will do that. So just to alert to everybody, the track is green. It is go, but all the drivers are going to peel back in the pit road. And then I said they're most likely going to jump out the car, talk to their engineers a little bit, and elect to whether or not somebody wants to peel back out there and try it on inters, because you never know this weekend, or running on your inters. Remember, it's a practice session, so it's all about getting the laps under your belt there in the tires and the fuel load and all that, and get the idea. So it gives us a little bit more time, doesn't it there, Grash, to have a bit of a chat about all the other action that's been happening over the past couple of weeks of Formula One.
Yeah, definitely. We've had, now it's coming down. Looking at the across to the Red Bull wall, and you can see the rain clearly.
Well, I saw everybody in the grandstands all of a sudden pull ponchos and umbrellas out, and you know for a fact that Formula One fans will sit there and soak in light rain, no problems without pulling an umbrella out. But when it starts to rain heavy, you're gonna pull that out, and that's exactly. And this is a notorious track for that, isn't it? This is like a Spa. It comes down hard and fast.
I have to say that I'm on a red flag streak right now. Last like every session for the last like 5 sessions, it has been a red flag showing up.
It's the crash curse. It's the crash curse here.
I have brought the anger.
You're bringing another rainstorm down. What's going on?
I'm bringing the anger of the F1 gods again, as it's been told in chat.
Once again, it gives us more time. And everybody give us everybody gives a thumbs up there. Grash is back, and we did miss you, my friend. Of course, everybody does. We always miss Jose, of course, and everybody else has supported the community at Race Statistics. Of course, the man behind the scenes himself, Mr. Race Statistics, does all the work. We just turn up, right? Commentate and talk about Formula One. This is the man that does all the stuff behind the scenes.
So someone asked in chat, why is Sergeant Purple? Because as of right now, he's done the fastest lap so far, which is not much saying that, stuff happened. We were 5 minutes on track, and then ended up now everyone's out of the car because of rain.
Yeah, so drivers are out of the cars. Just to let everybody know, most drivers. In fact, I can't see all the drivers on the grid, but if most of them are out, Max wearing his orange cap at the moment, talking to his racing engineer, looking at his car, going, "Yep, Max, do you think you can win the rest of the season?" And Max is going, "Yeah, I pretty much think I can get that done."
So one thing that I did notice, I forget which of the McLarens did a pit lane start. They had Floviz paint on the back of their car for that first lap.
Oh, they did?
So
wow. You
they did, yeah.
And nothing gets past you. That's why we missed you. We got to put Floviz on Grashy. He's trying to escape from the hospital. He's like, I got to go cast some Formula One. Get some Floviz on him. There he is. It's Grashy running down the street.
I did escape from the hospital. Just not before I could get back for FP3.
No, yeah, exactly. Helmut Marko currently at the moment is chatting to Sergio Perez in the Red Bull garage. Now, it gives us that little topic to talk about as well, too, because we talk about this little driver swap peruse and all the action and everything that's been going on behind the scenes. But what about the Brad Pitt Formula One movie that they started filming in Silverstone? I want to know people's thoughts about that one. I know that there are some famous YouTube streamers with good detailed information that have talked about it, and some of those, actually, believe it or not, some of those videos have been removed, and I don't know the legal reasons behind it, because they're photographers and things like that. They are allowed to film and show, not film, but obviously photograph and stuff, things in the Formula One paddock. However, anything related with the movie that's being filmed,
so the team,
it's been kind of shut down a lot.
Yeah, and that's within reason. Who is going out on track? That is Hamilton. He's gone to he's on inners, and he's gone to a pit lane and start position. That's interesting. I think the reason, and he's now taking off to do his outlap. The way that they're getting around that is that essentially the team, the Brad Pitt team, is a fictional team, and so
it's called just real quick. What do you remember? What it's called?
It's like
something
like Apex GP.
Apex. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. So for in terms of the film, the rights and livery belong to the film still at this point. And that's how they're getting to take down those videos of the cars on track. Which is
the debate was that F1 photographers have are allowed to photograph anything in the Formula One, audience, crowds, anything within the Formula One track. Now, if there's a film crew filming something, they're still allowed to do it. Still allowed to take photos of it.
Yeah, but from my understanding that from what you're saying, it's not the videos are not from like the F1 people. It's like fans at the track who took video type scenario.
Well, it's not the video; it's the actual official F1 photographers that are press. They're allowed to take. They're authorized. Anyway, it's a long debate. Real quick, there, Nico Hülkenberg is sporting a blonde look, and I believe that's something to do with the Barbie release movie, of course, there too. So people are actually aren't they comparing Nico with Ken? I'm not
that's
sure.
The point.
A reference I heard about that too.
Yeah, that's the point. Is that he's dressed up like Ken?
Yeah, hey, he's a good-looking man. Why not? I'd look if I looked great at his age and been motor racing. Also, the Hülkenberg is also another popular driver on the grid too, which is probably another reason why the team are happy. Yes, exactly. Marvin mentioned, Mr. Kim, an Aussie guy that is deep into the Formula One. So yeah, exactly. I don't think they're spoiling any movie plots and stuff like that because they're just filming certain things. We don't even know what's going on. Nobody knows. But we do know that they are filming regularly this season, of course, in Formula One. They're trying to get as much as the real Formula One action as they can, mixing teams, aren't they? So to make it as real as possible. For a great movie, we're going to enjoy.
One of the things that's interesting right now is that several teams have made posters for the Hungarian Grand Prix. The McLaren poster is basically Lando and Oscar in a Barbie car.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, it's definitely worth looking up.
So who's Ken and who's Barbie then? If you had to choose between Lando and Oscar as to who was to be Ken and who's to be Barbie.
I'm going to leave this one alone before I get myself in trouble.
I bet you that'll probably be one of those, obviously we're all Formula One fans, so you probably check out one of those McLaren YouTube videos that they do between the drivers. And a lot of those teams do that. I love watching those little short videos where they go, quiz the drivers to have fun.
SD Bestie's on track right now.
Yeah,
Hamilton went out.
Inters, right? I think.
Yeah, he's on Inters. Yeah, he doesn't look like he's going very fast on the Inters. It looks like more of a reconnaissance lap.
It looks like, my friend, too, that the rain is actually eased off, not as heavy that we just saw for a brief moment. Has anybody checked the radar and tell us whether or not that rain is going to get heavier or not? Jose? Paula? You guys are out there. You're as sharp as tools in the Formula One shed. Pretty sure you guys might be aware of it. Everybody else?
I got to point out someone in chat who's probably the best comment so far. Hulken promoting the Barbie film, Lewis promoting Oppenheimer because he's gonna bomb.
Nice comment. Thank you.
You are right now our winner in chat, my friend. This is from Australian Guy 66.
Love it. Aussies. Good job. So, as they say, the rain is intimate. Well, Jose knows. So we got may have that for the rest of the session, 35 minutes. So they only red flagged it briefly, as you'd mentioned there for Sergio. So you want to recap really quickly what happened at the start there with Sergio Perez, because I was down in the hospitality suite.
Yeah, basically, we went out to start the session. 5 minutes in, Checo went around one of the curves. At the apex, his tire went off the track, went on and onto the grass. He lost traction and lost control. Spun and went into the tire wall. Collapsed his left front suspension. So we were in red flag for about 10 minutes, I would say, while we waited for the crane to go across the track with Checo's car in the air. When we came back to green flag, we had rain coming down on the track, which is still coming down on the track now. We had Bottas on slicks spinning in the same corner where Checo had. He managed to not hit the barrier. He just spun around. It doesn't look like he was going as fast as Checo as well. And he came to the pit saying that it was undrivable. So they brought in, Ocon has just come into the pits, back to the pits. That was definitely Raikkonen's lap. And meanwhile, we've got Sainz and Albon out on track. We'll see how, they're showing Sainz at the moment. He's on inners.
Yeah, and another thing as well, too, the drivers so far in this practice session that we've had, deep into this practice session, which is usually an hour, so far, about 20 or so minutes into this one, we've only had drivers compete at best 5 laps. Carlos is one of those. Most drivers are 4 to 3 laps. Now, you got to remember, you're talking about out laps, flying lap, and then in laps. So that's not a lot of time for the first time they visited this track this season, and with just changeable conditions. So the crucial practice periods that you need to get as much as you can, especially the practice one, right, my friend, isn't it? Because it's a whole different ball game. That's when you start really testing a whole different bunch of things before you get into more of the serious deep end of your practice sessions before you get into your qualifying and thus forth. So maybe testing some of those upgrades and little parts and things like that with the flow paint, all thrown out the door right now, changing conditions.
So we did have a poll earlier on that we asked to put up was, do you think de Vries should have been fired? We just finished that. There was 1,500 so votes in that. 53% said yes, that de Vries should have been fired. 46% said no. So there's 6% difference between yes and no. So it was a pretty close poll.
Yeah, I figured that was. Yeah, good.
I am a little surprised that it's leaning on the yes side. So
yeah, I'm honestly, I think it's 50-50, and I think everybody has that great opinion on that one. And we only know what we hear, obviously, in the press releases and the media, and what we know of Formula One. So great, everybody to vote on that one. Your own opinions are very important, of course, into Formula One as supporting Formula One. And yes, I'm on the fence as well too, my friends. Carlos Sainz, we're just watching some replay at the moment as he's snapped a little bit too deep into the S's and has to back off. Obviously, these not treacherous but difficult conditions, and just adjusting those inters. Carlos Sainz, as I said, was probably one of the most drivers that have done the most amount of laps so far. And I'm only talking about a few more laps than other drivers, but it is still experience in the changeable conditions. But thank you for those votes. And yes,
so Leclerc
your vote,
is on
your
track.
opinions are important, whether people agree or disagree with them. It's still your opinion, and stick to your opinions of what you think about one. Don't let people change your mind unless they have a reason that makes you feel, all right, I'll change my mind. It's up to you. We appreciate everybody's opinions.
The poll is a objective measurement of your subjective opinion. So Charles Leclerc is on track right now. So Leclerc is on track right now. It is still wet, still raining. The track it's wet. It is wet enough it's wet enough for the inners. It's not. We're not going to see. Probably won't
Japan,
see
Belgium.
No, the dry compounds again.
Yeah. You know what? Another thing at the moment, they're showing some pictures of the helmet cam. We've seen that. If you haven't seen the helmet cam before, we can't show you live pictures, of course, but Google F1 helmet cam vision. It looks horrendously hard to drive, and it is. I mean, a Formula One car, you have to be the best in the business to drive it. But as difficult that it looks through the camera, one of those cameras, of course, only selected drivers get that. That's determined by the F1 Media Liberty Group as to who has that camera in the helmet, and only one driver generally each weekend has it. It is bumpy. The helmet, your head's moving around with all the bumps. You got to remember that on the pitches, it looks harder. It's easier then for the driver because your eyes are so magical at focusing on certain parts, as we all know. And the pitches just don't give it that justice, do they, as driving? But trust me, it's still a difficult machine to drive.
So George Russell is gearing up and is about to get into his car. So in a few minutes, he's probably going to go out on a reconnaissance lap as well.
I love that reconnaissance.
We talked about tires.
Yeah.
Normally, if it was dry, we would have seen the hard, medium, and the softs. C3, C4, C5. So these are the three softest compounds here at track, which makes sense. This is a devoted track. It's not, it's not a street course or.
Yeah, but Grash, remember what's more important about this weekend with the tires in the practice sessions is because of that new qualifying format. So teams need to be testing these different tire compounds, especially the hards and especially the mediums, of course, and even, no doubt, the softs, if the team feels that they can get themselves in the top 10 shootout. Because once again, to elaborate,
He's in the pouring rain. They've got got a shot.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, if you're a team that is gonna to see if you can find your way into Q2. You're going to be on the hard tires at the start. So those teams are going to have to be working tooth and nail to say, what is our absolute best hard tire time?
So two things that... Yeah, two things that we have to, again, mention. One, basically with the qualifying session where they're using hards in Q3, softs, mediums softs in Q2, and let me do this correct. They're going to use hards in Q1. Everyone's required to use a hard. In Q2, everyone is required to use a medium tire. And then in Q3, they're required to use a soft tire. And there's tires assigned to the team for qualfication itself. What this is doing is... mentioned,
right? 11, I think, right?
And the result of that is we're going to see that the teams are going to have 2 less tires than they normally would have because they've been automatically assigned tires. The other thing we need to talk about is because we have now seen rain, teams will be given extra sets of intermediate tires because they need them at this point. This session alone should prompt teams getting an extra set or 2 extra sets of intermediate tires. And we're seeing Oscar out on track on, I believe, Ely. Yeah, he's on intermediate.
Yeah, he just did a snap of an oversteer coming out of corner too. It saved it quite well, but it's interesting when you see, I'm used to, he's struggling big time out there. That is almost full wet conditions. Jack Brown at the moment looking a little nervous at the moment. More than anything, I hope he's praying Oscar does keep this on the track because Oscar is struggling massively, trying to put his quickest time in.
He's back into the pits now. That was a replay. And at this point,
at that point, you're more worried, aren't you, about making sure your driver's not on the fence more than
the only one on the track right now is Pierre Gasly. So
that snap that he had out the corners, I see it all the time. I cast a lot of GT3s, and obviously there's esports events. There's 24-hour going on this weekend for Spa and stuff like that. But make sure you definitely tune into the this event. But I just see even in the virtual sports world a snap like that, and some of the slower cars, obviously like GT3 touring cars and LMP2s and stuff, they get away with it. A one car, there's a limit to when it snaps. You're either around, somehow you're pointing in the same direction. So good on Oscar for saving that one. Team radio from Norris, and I think everybody's pulled back in the garage again. And whether or not somebody will risk it for the biscuit, my friend, and go out on the full wets at this point.
I'm not sure if we're at the point for the full. It's not at the point for the full wets yet, and even still, those full wets were much slower than even. Gasly was on track. He's now come back into the garage, which makes sense. Their teams are like trying to figure out what's going on with this track.
It's going to get worse. So to elaborate, everybody, you look at the timing table right now and you go Russell, Albon, Ricciardo, and all that. Unfortunately, what we can tell you is those times are not comparison of anybody that's done an actual proper lap. Nobody's really had a chance to do a proper lap because we had changeable conditions and a red flag too.
What's worse is that those times, the Russell, Albon, Ricciardo, those times, the times that we see on the board right now, they're pretty much not changing at this point. So when the session ends, it's going to be Russell first, Albon second, and hey, surprise! Welcome back, Ricciardo. Third fastest in FP3.
That'll look good for the social media one. There is like instantly headlines: Ricciardo P3 first practice session back in Formula One. That's the headlines, right? But you won't whether you read below the fold and see that the session was heavily influenced by weather. People don't read that. They'll read the headline and go, Ricciardo P3 back in F1. That does make a headline, but unfortunately, it's not 100% true. Well, it is true.
I would like to apologize to Maurice Casey for me angering the F1 gods for a crash and bringing the rain.
You are back, my friend.
I am back. I bring the chaos.
You do, but you also bring the love of the racing statistics community, and we love you for that one as well as everybody else. So I guess there's more chance at the moment. We can't tell you about what's going on. We can't show you what's going on because all the drivers are back in pit road as they're just nursing out the weather. I'm actually seeing some fantastic camera angles I've never seen before in Formula 1, where they're showing you basically a GoPro camera as the water's filling above the lens on some of the corners. Never seen that. But go back to all the other action that's been occurring. Now, thank you very much for your votes out there. Determining, do you feel that Nyck was, should have been fired or not? Obviously, most of you disagreed and agreed with that one. They're covering the Red Bull at the moment as they're putting the Sergio Perez's Red Bull back on the trailer. And that's literally, they're covering it up, my friend. So they don't want their secrets of their Red Bull winning constructors car this season to be exposed too much.
So at this point, there's areas where water is pooling, and it looks like it might have been in the grass. There were these little bubbles on top of the water, which is interesting. So we have rain on track right now. The radar that they just showed, there's a group, a section that's over the track right now. It will stop again in a few minutes, and I'm not sure. And then there's another.
Oh, those
group.
bubbles are interesting. You mentioned that's oil. That's oil. That's got to be.
Oh, is that oil? Okay.
It has to be. That's one for the chat. Now, we can't show you the pictures, but just imagine a picture of, a corner or a chicane or whatever of a track, and then little bubbles is exactly what Crash had mentioned. Now, why would there be bubbles forming on the surface of a bit of water on the track? Now, I hope so. My suggestion was oil, but I would like to know. I didn't see any reflection. When oil does form in a bubble, you get those rainbow effects. Maybe the camera lens couldn't pick it up there on the stream that we're showing. But I'm just curious to know if anybody thinks there was other aspects to it. Is there maybe oxygen trapped into the track surface? There's a lot of technical stuff that goes on, but I'm just curious to know. And another good point was this is also buying, well, not really, it is buying some time, no doubt, for the Red Bull team to fix Checo's car. However, the session is not red flag. It is still go. The timer is kicking over.
Yeah, Checo won't be back in this session. They just got the car back. So we're right now in a lull with less rain, but there's a group. I just showed the radar. There's going to be some rain back on track soon. They still haven't. They're still getting the car off the lorry at this moment, and they're about to pull it.
We're not in red flag conditions out there, everybody. We're still green. They have not stopped it. The session's not stopped because there's no car stranded on track. It's just that everybody's elected to come in a pit road because it's wet. That's it. It's a team's decision, not the track. The track is
we are 20 minutes left in this session. Hush is asking, do you think Red Bull's upgrade will help at all? We have no way to measure if it can help or not because of the rain just came out, and Max has not. He just gotten back into his car, but he hasn't come back out yet. So it's hard to say.
Yeah. You know what Max is doing, mate? He's jumped into a racing simulator in the back of the garage there, and is probably on right now doing some sort of.
No, he just jumped back in his car. No, he's just jumped back to the car. Yeah, I just saw that. So
it's getting worse, but I think isn't Jose said I don't know, that radar's looking sketchy, but it's a question of do you go back out full wets or inters? Because there's got to be puddles forming on track right now. And they're not running, or there is a car coming out, but they're not running. They don't have to run the safety car because it is green flag condition. So the safety car is not going to go out there and test it.
So Bottas is out on track now. He's the car that went out. What's interesting, let's see which he is on in inters. He's not on the full wets. And he's sliding on those inters too. So that's interesting.
I don't think it's crazy to go out and inters, mate. But anyway, I'm not an engineer.
Yeah. So what's interesting about the full wets? These came. Wasn't Imola? What was the race after Imola? It was Monaco.
Yeah.
So at Monaco, we saw the So the wets that we're using is a new style of wets. They were supposed to debut at in Imola. They showed up for the first time in Monaco. What's interesting about these wets is that they're the first tire design not to use the tire blankets at all. So they're throw them on, go out, and that's because these tires are more like an all season tire that you would put on a car normally. In that regards, they're designed to basically not use the tire blankets at all, and that's part of the push to get rid of the tire blankets.
It is another push, isn't it? Exactly. Bottas out on track at the moment. Team Radio came back. He said a low grip to the team, but drivable. That is the quote, end quote, that Valtteri Bottas, who is on track at the moment, testing those conditions. But there's a lot of spray. It's not about the spray on the track because the Inters can handle that quite well. It's more about standing water. That's the biggest driver for a nightmare, and anybody in the real world as well, too. If you've ever driven a motor car and you get into a big puddle of water, it's called aquaplaning. And unfortunately, there's 4 points of contact. If they don't touch the track, you're just a passenger.
And Bottas he's been very jerky with the car. He's not driving. It's not smooth driving. So that's something. Yeah. Well, but it's even for these wet conditions, it is very herky jerky when we see it from like above, which is really.
Also remember Sargent's gone out there, Albon's gone out. Ricciardo is now exiting pit road. It's because he's the one that's going to form a drive line. Remember the drive line. These cars produce, for a fact how much water these tires could just throw out the back of them. So if you're following a car that's cleared liters of water off the track ahead of you, essentially a few cars out on the track after a couple of laps have formed essentially a little bit of a dry line. So your pace is going to increase. But when you're out there by yourself, practically on a lonely track, well, you're the one that has to do all the work, and he is struggling massively right now to keep that car on the track. If anything, they have to pull him in the pit road. Now he goes in another lap.
Yeah, he's going another lap. Game. So what's interesting is we had a discussion before about one of the new things that is in the works for F1 technology is that they're looking at bringing on essentially a tire blanket on the back. Blanket is probably the worst word to use, but it's basically a water flap that can be installed quickly onto the car.
So that's a reference. Would that be like on your bicycle or something like that, right? A little flap on the back there to stop the spray coming out. Is that what you're talking about, right?
They're talking about installing that onto the cars, being something that they could install that can be added to the car quickly. So they could add that onto the car pretty quickly. That's one of the conditions of one of the design pieces for it, is that it can be put on the car pretty quickly and be used. We've got Daniel Ricciardo doing a slide, and who is that?
Yeah.
That is it is Sainz. Sainz has gone into the wall.
Into the wall, Carlos.
And then he was moving.
Turn one into the wall as well. You might be right. We'll try to get you some more information about that. Daniel Ricciardo is massively power sliding out of the corner. So there it is. Some pictures coming at the moment. That's definitely a damaged Ferrari. It's beached as well. There's no way getting out of that one, my friend. Just to let everybody know how to beach a Formula One car. Have your front wheels onto the track and have the chicane in the middle of the car and your rear wheels. And what happens? You have no traction and he's stuck. It's red flag.
And he has also taken out a Pirelli sign.
Oh, those Pirelli signs always comment, my friend. But and then pitches over to the head manager of Red Bull and Ferrari. Not happy. No, I've seen it before, even in the racing sims. They're so low to the ground. Remember here, especially here in Hungary, those chicanes, they're elevated at least like double the length of the distance between a Formula One car and the ground. So he's beached, literally beached, nowhere to go. Half the cars on the track, half the cars off under the grass. They call the red flag because it's completely unsafe, and that's it. As Sainz, he's going to need a tractor ride. Motorbike ride? A tractor.
No, he doesn't need. He doesn't need a tractor ride. He needs.
Can they give him a
push
push in the red flag? So maybe they can.
Yeah. I'm seeing him go over what the Pirelli sign. He backed up. It backed over.
Oh, did you see that? There's a river that ran in the pictures. There's a river, a stream of water out of the exit. I can't remember what turn that was, but he's on the gas right at that point.
So the marshals have gone onto the track to try and push him back onto the track.
Two of them were in a red flag, right? Yeah, they can't do it on a regular race condition. They can't. That thing is stuck, my friend. You're not going to get it. You have to lift it, guys. Lift it.
Two of them had were pushing on the back, weren't doing very much, and now I think another like 6 other people have come to.
They've got to lift it.
They've got him. So Sainz is back on track now. He's back moving.
That's what I was going to say, because the cars are fairly. You get 3 or 4 people. You can lift the rear of the car, of course, and then just hop it. It's caught on chicane out there, but that's the reason why we can't show the pictures. The chicane is in the middle.
Stop. One of the winglets on the left side just fell, and it's dragging on the ground.
He'll make his way back to pit road, but because it's a red flag anyway, so there's nobody else on the track. He's going to take his time. He's cheers to them. Check the. He said, by the way, cheers to them is in the marshals. The marshals. So good on him. That's the race control message there from Carlos. Cheers to them. He's going to bring it back to pit road.
Yeah, he made it back.
See, Carlos is such a people person. I love Carlos for that. Go ahead.
So the front end plate damage reminds me of Alex Below's wing from last weekend. Session will resume in about a minute, 14:19. So that's a minute from now. The wing is going to be replaced.
Interesting. Somebody said it there. No damage. All right. Who was that said that? So cranky. That's interesting, mate. Half the car was stuck on the chicane. And the underplate, of course, the floorboard or the plank they call it. That's interesting to see. How do we inspect that for damage? You have to pull back in the garage and have a look underneath, because they could have been damaged. That's something. I don't know.
The floor is where the way he was beached. There could be damage to the floor. So AlphaTauri, both of the Aston Martins are out on track. So it's Stroll, Alonso, and Russell.
It's a good question that people ask those questions out there in the chat, and please do, because yes, we don't know, and obviously Ferrari will know very soon. They're going to inspect those cars, but they're back out, and it's good to see. 10 minutes remaining in the session, and drivers are all once again they're only into this, right, my friend? And nobody, I believe, their crash is gambling on the full wets yet. Although I wouldn't mind risking a full wet, but just some sort of gamble. I don't know. What do you think? The rain is not heavier anymore. Right?
It's not heavy.
Okay. So it's unfortunate because we haven't had a real idea of how any of the teams have backed off their performances in Silverstone. And right now, we haven't seen even McLaren's. We know it says Norris is in P9, but we know none of those times are real reflective yet because we hadn't had good dry pace running. So until we get that, we might not get a session at all, as you said, because the track is just still a little bit wet. Good inter running. A test perhaps there for the teams, whether or not qualifying may go into wet weather or even the race goes into wet weather. These are tests that you're going to get. But for overall pace of the teams in a dry scenario, we have absolutely no idea who's the best performer in Hungary, right? Fresh?
Correct. I'm a moment looking at something that's going on in chat, unfortunately. So most of the grid is actually out on track. The only ones who are not out right now is the AlphaTauri, Sainz, obviously, Perez, obviously, the Alpine, Max, and Hamilton.
Just remember, everybody in the chat, we keep it all friendly. We're all good. Everybody has their own opinions, and you're absolutely welcome to your own opinions. The only time that you'll ever upset people and get upset is that when your opinion has to be enforced on other people. If you say, well, I disagree with you because, you don't know what you're talking about, that's not the kind of thing that we like. It's like if and I disagree with you. We've disagreed many times, haven't we, Gresh, in the past? Like my opinion about something and your opinion about something. It's perfectly fine. We do that.
Yeah,
And
if you,
we
I
have
know
that.
that the
But I
map
don't enforce
just
it onto you.
froze.
Say you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like you can say whatever you want. I say whatever I want, and that's our opinion. And we will encourage people to do that. But
So I do
keep it
want
to
to
your own.
note. I do want to note that the map has frozen at the moment. Give it a moment. It should refresh within about a minute or so.
Yeah, it's
so
all broken, even for the official.
We recognize that it is broken at the moment. So
it's broken right now for the official stream right now. If it's Alex Jacks commentating and stuff like that as well too on the official channels, he is not seeing the map. I guarantee you that right now. You look out his window and have a look, but he's going to see spray cars.
So one of the new things with YouTube is that this big round circle with a heart in it, and that if you click on it, it will give you different reactions. Seeing people actually react and click on that. So thank you for the reactions, regardless how you feel. People are doing happy faces and 100.
Please. Don't we want to show some love for you,
100s.
Grashy? I'm showing some love for you, man. I'm clicking that button as much as I can. It's going crazy, my friend. As they're going crazy, 7 minutes and change on a snap of oversteer. It was. Alonso goes to the top of the timesheets. That was the McLaren. Which McLaren was that one? Because our telemetry is all messed up at the moment, mate. Across the board. I'm not sure if it was
Looks like it's
Oscar.
Yeah, so Lando is number 5 on the board right now.
I think it might show some replays as well. Because we're seeing a replay of Alex going.
So we're getting some actual times right now. So Leclerc just went 1:42.909. First time I've set a time all session. 6 minutes left to go in this session. Having said that, again, there's like 1,700 of you who are watching right now. I appreciate all of you to be with us in this crazy session. Cass, you just jumped to P9 with a 1:46.1.
And don't forget, we have more, don't we? Coming up, we have a practice 2, we have a practice 3, we have a qualifying session, and we have a race. And then, of course, if you're all aboard with that one, you got a triple header coming up, don't you? Of tons of motorsports coming up, Formula 1 back to back to back to back. 5 minutes remaining, just under 5 minutes remaining in our free practice session 1 at the moment. Tricky conditions at the moment. Leclerc on top of the timesheets, but those times should tumble as the drivers start to get a little bit more adjusted to these intermediate raining conditions here in Istanbul.
So Alonso just set a new 140.6.
My bad, Hungary.
687. Stroll went with 140.888. Russell has gone 142.249. Dirk did it again on 142.909. So we're getting sometimes tumbling in these last 5 minutes.
Oh, they are cruising so fast, my friends, and the pictures that spray out of these Formula 1 cars. You just exactly mentioned before, but they're trying to reduce in the future of Formula 1 by putting some sort of like mud flaps and things like that you have in back of your cars and bicycles to reduce the spray so your visibility is a little bit more. But they're flying, absolutely flying. Most cars on track right now are, I'd have to say, 12 cars or 13 crash around on the track right now.
So we just went yellow for a track hazard, and it's gone back to green. Wondering what caused that to flip over. Jose says Hulk went off the track and recovered. So thank you. That's usually what happens. Excursion. That's when you see it go yellow and then go back to green because someone went off the track.
Yeah, Hulky's looking for his Barbie girl. He wants a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Yeah, those puns are going to come through. Yeah, you know the Barbie girl.
I just can't believe you just quoted Aqua.
Well, I had to because it is Barbie. Yeah. Of course, that was one of the famous songs that came in about the 90s, and we've had lots of races in the 90s of Formula 1. 4 minutes to go. Alonso on top of it, Stroll on top of it. Aston Martin's going, hey, this is classic 101 British weather. No problemo for the Aston Martin racing team.
So Sonoda right now beating Ricardo, but has not come back out for an outlap. So we'll see how that goes next.
Also, some changes, of course, that are occurring in the teams as well, too. A little bit more in depth on that one, isn't it, my friend? About the who's switching engineers here and there. Logan Sargent at the moment we're looking at has a little bit of a definite off-track excursion, similar to what I think we saw from Alex as well, too, in the Williams. So they're off into the Pirelli runoff area, but back on track there, not into the fence. Not doing a.
Yep.
Is it too early for me to say a Sergio Perez? Sorry, Sergio Perez, but not doing a Sergio Perez in this practice session. People are going to murder me for that saying that, my friend Crash. But you know what?
Sonoda has
As
a
a
damaged
commentator, we
front
have to
wing.
say it.
Yeah, Sonoda has a damage. Yeah, he lost the.
And you think the
end
Japanese
plate.
driver will be used to these conditions because Japan has always been notorious in Suzuka for horrendous raining conditions. And anyway, well, mistakes are made.
Yeah, given that we've just saw two different cars basically lose their end plate on their wing, it's like again we've got Alpine's probably not going out the rest of the session. Verstappen's not going out the rest of the session. Hamilton's not going out the rest of the session. They haven't set a time, and they're not going to. And it's not like, hey, they retired. No, they're just not going to go out.
And that's just the thing too for Sonoda, isn't it? Because Daniel Ricciardo has not set a time. Neither has Carlos. Neither has Perez or Ocon. Both the Red Bulls, of course. Russell goes to the top of the timesheets. But, I mean, do you think Sonoda was just pushing a little bit to go, hey, all right, now I have a new teammate, so I have to kind of step it up a little bit? I don't think he has to. He had a time set. It's not a really competitive time, but he's still going to beat his teammate in the practice session one, even though that is irrelevant. It's more the qualifying he wants to beat him in a race, but you still want to have psychological advantage, don't you? And what do you think about as a driver like Sonoda? All right, here you go. Now you've got Mr. Daniel Ricciardo, who's won races and has had podiums. He's now your new teammate that you have to beat, and he's popular in the paddock. How do you think Sonoda's going to approach this weekend?
Oscar just went P1 with a 139.906. So yeah, someone's asking what's Russell's last name. It is Russell. His first name is George. So just a weird.
I don't mind those questions are fine. Absolutely ask them.
Yeah,
tune in.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong. If you don't know what is going on, ask questions because it's perfectly fine. Trust me, everybody at some point. Those questions I had about Formula 1 20 years ago, I would just be like, people going, are you kidding me? You don't know who Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna is? Are you insane? Like, exactly. Don't worry about that. Ask away.
So again, the only reason I know who Nigel Mansell is because he came over, he won the F1 championship and then took his ball and came over to the United States to drive in IndyCar. And he almost won the Indianapolis 500.
He didn't like the ovals too much, mate. They didn't agree with him on those accidents too much. But he had the pace.
Yeah. He had the pace. Yeah. He almost won the Indianapolis 500. He was leading the race. There was I forget who binned it in Indy at that moment, but
somebody will know. 0 seconds remaining of a qualifying practice session. I always say the qualifying session. Apologies. There's the flag being waved at the moment, and under those conditions, but Oscar, well, he did slice his car up into P2. Norris up into P4 in the dying stages of that one. So McLaren, well, is that a little statement that they're setting after their great performance in Silverstone?
So Russell did go P1 with a 139 point. So Russell went P1 and then Piastri just improved his time.
Sorry, I'm delayed. Yep, got it. First time ever, Oscar's got the top of the timesheets for a session. But then again, remember, sorry, Oscar, I'm an Aussie, mate. I would be more glad than anybody else to say, good on you, mate. Aussie. But changeable conditions, I can't give it to you, mate. I just say, you're right place, right time. Good job.
So, yeah, we have, again, FP1 has ended. Basically, it's going to be, I believe, 2.5 hours now in the next session. We'll probably be on the stream will probably be for FP2 will be live in about 2 hours, and then about 15 minutes. Yeah, I'll be back. Yep, I'll be back.
Maybe
I did well. I did well during this session.
Yeah. Would everybody interested in do a little F1 trivia or something like that a little bit earlier? So we maybe start 30 minutes earlier or something. Well, then again, I should be talking to the bosses at B. But I would like to pick your brain on F1 knowledge there and see if everybody can go through
my holes in F1 knowledge is interesting.
What does everybody think about something like that? You know, if we started 30 minutes earlier and everybody can go through, we'll do a little trivia of F1 through the history and see if we can give out some votes and things like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out there. But yeah, because I mean, I'm just excited you're back there, Gresh. I'm excited you're back. Daniel's got a smile on his face, as he always does.
So again, the FP1 session has ended. Russell just took P1 again. He did a 138.795. So we had a duel between Russell and Piastri at the end of this session.
I'm going for Aussies.
Yep. So we've got Russell in P1, Piastri P2, and Stroll P3 for this session. Norris is P4, Alonso is P5, Bottas did P6, Leclerc did P7, Zhou did P8, Sargent P9, Hulkenberg P10, Magnussen is 11th, Tsunoda is 12th, and Albon is 13th. Everyone else really didn't set a representative time. So for those of you who are still here, I want to thank you. If you wait after this stream, again, the stream will go after we're done talking. We'll go back to some music, and then after a few minutes, after basically the stream will end. YouTube will bring up a box you can click on to bring you to the FP2 session. And meanwhile, you can chat there, but also you can also join our Discord server and join us there as well for discussion as well. Again, I want to thank you, Biggles, for being. Basically, Biggles, I want to thank you for being here with me for this first session. Again, this is Crash, and I'm back. And it's been a weird session, but that's part of the course for me, apparently. Still on my streak of red flag sessions. Yeah, I should need to get a little sign. Number of sessions with Grash with a red flag. Sometimes we get two.
Oh, Grash is back, isn't he? And everybody hit that heart because, my friend, I'm giving you my heart. We are enjoying that. Thank you very much for the kind words, my friend. Yeah, glad to have you back.
Thank you. All right. We're now coming to a close of the session, but we'll be back here for FP2. If you haven't liked to subscribe, now's the time to do it. If you click that bell, you'll get notifications of when we go live. But also, if you're in the Discord channel, there'll be an event set up there as well, so you'll always have access to the link to our stream if you're on our Discord channel. So. I want to give you guys again thank you, and I'm going to sign off for this session.